Well, for once your machine's set up right. How'd it happen? Somebody do it for you?
Well, I set it up.
Listen, don't be giving me any lip. And I'll tell you something for your own good. If sales don't pick up, there's going to be some faces missing around here.
They say work is the only place where a guy can yell at you, and all you can do when he's finished is say, thank you. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. In my 12 years working on the GM assembly line in Flint, Michigan, workers found their own ways of saying thanks to the boss. The line would mysteriously shut down. Sometimes beer cans found their way into the truck chassis. Plenty of people did it, but it's not exactly the kind of thing they brag about on primetime TV. That is, not until I met former mail clerk Martin Sprouse.
We have a computer programmer, a demolition worker, a roofer. I found people that work in offices, air freight technicians, men and women, people in Florida, people in Maine. Anyone I talked to had a story.
Martin collected 136 of their stories in a book. This is not your traditional take on sabotage.
Most management people and people that have written about the subject of workplace sabotage before have always said it's one type of troublemaker, it's one type of dissatisfied person, someone that's going through a bad marriage, alcoholic. But what I found is that you can't really pinpoint it on one certain type of person.
For instance, you might think an aspiring young painter who works for a mural company pretty much has it made. Well, Martin introduced us to Harvey. He says it's not all that cushy.
We did a contract for Disney, and that had extremely stiff guidelines. We constantly had someone over our shoulder, you know, telling us to change things. You can't have that. That's inappropriate. These people's faces, that guy's brow is furrowed. It looks like he's not happy. You know, you got to make him look happy. Everybody has to be happy. The flowers have to be bright. You know, it's like sunshine everywhere.
So how did Harvey get back at an employer who just wanted him to be happy? He decided to add his own little message to the painting.
It was kind of a hotel type scene, you know, crowded in the front with these people, and in the background I painted some Nazis walking around on a balcony, you know, and very small, but surveying the crowd. My bosses said, "Who's this guy on the ledge back here?" And I said, "Well," they said, "he looks like a soldier." And I said, "Well, actually, he's a security guard, you know. I mean, we've all been to Disneyland, and we know that they're always watching you with video cameras, so, you know, he's just a security guard." But, you know, this guy had on the, you know, the uniform. He had grenades hanging from his belt and bayonets, and the security guard explanation seemed to just kind of get it right on through, and it's installed now in one of the Disney complexes. I don't really want to say where.
I was going to ask you, would you care to divulge where that might be?
Well, I'd really rather not share it with you, because I'd like it to stay there.
Harvey hopes his sabotage is for the ages. Other workers are more impulsive and less subtle. Sean was a parking valet at a swanky hotel in Beverly Hills. His act of sabotage was the kind no boss could overlook.
I was working at a hotel in Los Angeles, a nice hotel on Sunset Boulevard. And he was the general manager of the hotel. And over the course of like 2 years working there, we saw him do lots of disgusting things, like fire a lot of people at one time and then take 6 weeks vacation. And as valets, we despised him. So he pulled in one morning at 6:30, and I was the only valet on. The doorman wasn't there yet, so I got into his car and drove it down, and I pulled it in to back it up and park it, and I just thought, all right, screw it, and I just backed it up as fast as I could and smashed it into a wall backwards. And, you know, I'd go forward and scrape one side and turn the wheel a little bit and scrape the other side, and just kept on going back and forth.
So can we assume that this was your last day on the job, or did you hang on to your job any longer?
No, that was it.
That was it?
That was it. I even got, you know, I got my sick pay, and nothing really, you know, he wasn't able to do anything. It was good.
People have a lot of different motivations behind what they do. There's not just one reason. It's not just one type of person. So the definition we came up with is anything you do at work that you're not supposed to do.
Short of handcuffing you to your desk or treating you like a human being, what's a suspicious boss to do? Fear of sabotage has spawned a lucrative industry. Training videos like this one try to convince you that sabotage is just plain wrong.
Come on, Dina, pack it up.
It's just 10 till.
Come on, what's a few minutes anyway?
It doesn't take much for a boss to be able to accuse you of sabotage, but some acts of sabotage the boss never even notices. Meet Linda.
I was a receptionist at a doctor's office. He wasn't very nice to the employees, so I just decided that I was just going to start taking paper from him.
How much did you end up taking?
Maybe about a ream. I don't think that's a lot.
Did this make you feel better?
Yes, actually it did. I think the doctor deserved it. I think that it was a perk of the job. I'm not sure if it was a learning experience for him, but I felt better.
Does sabotage usually work?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not like after using Sabotage, everyone in the book got a pay raise and, you know, started living large, you know. But it's, you know, most of the people, even if it was a minor thing, say it just broke up the boredom for one day, or they slowed down the work process, they gained more control, you know, the bosses told them to work faster and they slowed down just so they could get a better grip on things. You know, I think that's very effective.
Most saboteurs are trying to make their jobs a little better, but some believe they can make the whole world a little better. Reggie was a mail clerk at a Washington, D.C. think tank. It took him a while to figure out just what kind of thinking went on there.
I just sort of found it on my own after reading the pamphlets that I was stuffing the envelopes with. I read a few, and the more I read, the more I came to realize what their policies were.
Reggie's new employer was the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank whose founder liked to brag that he was to the right of Genghis Khan.
Well, I just sort of started thinking of ways to get back at them. Just sort of, I don't know, sort of screw them up, I suppose. But when it came to my turn to file and sort the mail, I would just sort of pick the more obvious envelopes and open them up, see how much they were for, and put them in the shredder. Throw them in the trash outside work, take them home, throw them away there. And funding to a non-profit organization is key, so if they lose out on a few $1,000s, I think that makes for a bit of a problem. You know, it gave me some sort of sense of personal satisfaction that I was destroying these checks that were meant for the heritage.
So what can be done to solve the problem of sabotage?
For me, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as a very important tactic that people use to solve really horrible situations or just day-to-day boredom. And, you know, it seems like kind of a subconscious thing, but most Americans do it no matter what because they don't like being pushed around, especially at work by their bosses.
Won't you dumb clucks ever learn? Remember what I said.
You know, sabotage is as common as work itself in America. Seems like anyone has a story that has worked a job.